Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tanya and this video is a mother effing collab, as Winnie says, because I like to quote her. We've done a few collabs now over the years, and I think I first met Winnie, or was introduced to Winnie in a way through lockdown, and the one video that did that for me was the one where she was actually cutting her own hair with the what are they called, the clippers, and I thought to myself, I had to click on that because the thumbnail truly drew me in, and I thought, what is this woman doing? Anyway, here we are a few years later, and we've done quite a few collabs together. We talk now and then through Messenger, and we've just become mates essentially. So I reached out to her a little while ago and I said, yo, like literally I wrote, yo, Merry Christmas. I've got an idea. Do you want to do this? And let's work together on this particular idea. You know, it's funny, right? I don't consider myself very creative, but every now and then I'll come up with an idea that I think is good. And I think today's may be that. But anyway, you let me know what you think. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I do hope you'll consider subscribing. And if you're not so new to my channel, thank you so much for your support. So today's video is, or the theme of today's video is too expensive, but I still want it. Or I suppose it could be like overpriced, but I still want it. And this will relate to a few luxury items that I've had my eye on for quite some time, I've wanted for quite some time, or I've wanted ever since I saw them. But you know what? It's currently far too expensive. And some of these items are not even new items. So I'm not going to be talking about the latest Takashi Murakami drop, or any of the other latest pieces that have been dropped in various designer houses. So these are items that always live rent-free in my mind, which I'd still love to own, but I just can't justify it. So anyway, let's get into it. First item that I'd like to share that I really want, but is too expensive for me to buy, especially now, unless I sell a few things, is the Fendi Fendigraphy, you know, sort of, what's it called? That half moon shaped bag. And I'll have some photos here of the pieces that I'm talking about. I love that bag. Ever since it came out, and I binge watched all the review videos about it and all the reveals and the unboxings of that video, I've always wanted it. The only thing that's sort of prevented me, aside from cost, and yes, it is too expensive, is the fact that the beautiful hardware at the bottom of the bag is going to get scratched up. Now, I know we all have bags. We all have bags of hardware. For example, this Mulberry here, that front plate is scratched and slightly faded as well. Yes, they're replaceable, but when you're spending that much money, I don't want to then go on and spend a lot more money. It's almost like, you know, that expression, throwing good money after bad. I don't want to spend that extra money because the hardware on the bag, because of the design of the placement of the hardware on the bag, will lead to scratches. Now, yes, you can take precautions. Yes, you could lay out a paper towel or something else and then rest the bag on it, especially when it's just like on display like this. But when you're out and about, I mean, you're not going to carry something with you. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to sort of lay it on something to protect the hardware. If there's a chair available, yes. If I can keep it on me all the time, yes. But still, inevitably, that hardware will incur scratches and scrapes, and, you know, it could even be gouged and pitting and all that type of thing, discoloration. But I love that bag. I really do. To the point that I almost bought the Coach version. I think the Coach one is called the Jody. And I was looking at one a little while ago. It was like a beautiful aquamarine color, but it was the little one, like the little itty bitty one. And it was a few $100s, and I thought, oh, look, maybe I'll get my fix by buying that. But then I hesitated and I paused and I took my time and I thought, nah, I better not. So that's the first one that I really would like. Second one, also from the house of Fendi, is that little itty bitty mini shopper tote. And that sort of started the craze for all these other designers to do a similar one, a little bit like the Louis Vuitton one. I forget what it's called, the sac plat, the mini sac plat. I actually don't know which one came first, Fendi or Louis. You can tell me, let me know down below. Anyway, I loved the Fendi one with the prints on it, you know, with the Birkin girls or the other prints. And look, forgive me, I can't remember all the details, but essentially, and I'll have photos here, it's not made by Fendi anymore, so obviously it's a discontinued line, but I really loved it because it just was quirky and it had personality, and there was something about that little itty bitty tote that A, wouldn't hold much, but B, was just drawing me in, honestly. But it was too expensive to buy. I mean, I would not have spent that money, and I still won't spend that type of money on the new one, and the new one was well over $2,000. I think you can buy them now, pick them up about pre-loved for about $1,000, between 1 and 2. Maybe I might consider it, but there are so many now versions of that I probably would just do you know, an inspired piece of that one. So yeah, too expensive, but I still love it. I still do love that piece. Let's talk about Chanel briefly. I don't have a lot of Chanel. I have a few Chanel pieces, but the one that again still lives rent-free in my mind is the Reissue. Any size essentially, but I'd love a mini reissue. What's that, the 224? Totally useless, I guess, in terms of what it can hold, although I guess it would hold more than the Fendi Mini Sunshine Tote thing that I was talking about just now. But I love the reissue. I love the look of it. It is not too Chanel in its appearance. It's one of those if you know you know type of aesthetics, which really appeals to me. I love the hardware on it. I love the fact that it doesn't have, for the most part, the quilts. When it comes to Chanel, and let me show you, the two pieces I have are chevron. And I will take chevron any day over the diamond quilting. Now, the diamond quilting is beautiful. There are so many beautiful Chanel bags that I love which have the diamond quilting, but I don't want the diamond quilting. That's hard to say. I love the chevron. So for me, far too expensive, especially new, and even to some extent pre-loved. Definitely too expensive, but chevron, well, a mini reissue chevron, any color, I don't even care. Gold hardware or silver hardware. I quite like the ruthenium because it's sort of got that rustic, worn look about it that, you know, you can wear it and it looks like it's been loved. I quite like that, even though I tend to go for very shiny bits and pieces, you know what I mean? So yeah, the Chanel reissue, the mini size, or even the one up from that, sort of like the medium, I would happily acquire if the price is right, but brand new, far too expensive, far too expensive. I can't justify spending that. And that's no shade on anyone else who has or who will or whatever, you know? So yeah, that's the next one. That's too expensive, but I still love it. Let's move on to Louis, shall we? Good old Louis Vuitton. I still love me some LV, and LV is still very close to my heart because it was one of the first designers that I bought from. Let's talk about that little Nice Nano, shall we? Now, for me to acquire this piece, which is currently $1,600, can you believe it? It was just a few years ago that I actually posted on my story, and I remember tagging Amelia Rose's Closet, that I was looking at it in store, and it must have been about 4 years ago. No, it must have been, well, obviously before COVID, so maybe 2020, 2019. It was $900 brand new in boutique. Do I wish now that I had bought it then? Yes. But did I think it was expensive then? Yeah, you bet your bottom dollar I did, because I remember thinking $900 for this little itty bitty, you know, rectangular case, essentially. But the reason why it was too expensive for me then, and is now also still too expensive, is because of why I would be acquiring it, the purpose for which I'd be acquiring it. And that is essentially to just have it sitting on my bedside table, which is just across there, just to hold my little bits and bobs. You know, like you've always got little bits and pieces that you have beside you on the bedside table. I don't want the slightly larger one, and I don't want the big one. I already have a vanity case, an unbranded vanity case that I've had ever since I was a teenager. But my point is that I just wanted something aesthetic like that will hold those pieces, those little bits and bobs, a couple of hair clips, you know, lip balm. I don't know. Sometimes I take off my earrings during the night because they might be bothering me. So I just want to pop them in there as opposed to just dropping them on the actual bedside table and then I end up losing bits. So that's the reason why I would want that particular piece, not to actually carry it around or anything like that. I'm not going to hack it and make it into a bag. No, I just want it to sit on my bedside table, but that's too expensive for that purpose. So what I currently do have sitting there though is my Toiletry 15, and it holds a few things. That works well, but sometimes things stick out of it. So I just want that little Nice Nano. Will I eventually buy it? Most likely. Will I have to end up paying more? Yes, of course. Should I stop asking these questions, preempting and then answering my own questions? I probably should. Can't help it. I'm a teacher. It's just in me. I think I will eventually buy it, but I'm not going to pay $1,600 for it. Not when I could have had it for $900. So pre-loved, I know I've seen them about $1,100, $1,200. I'm just going to have to be prepared to pay that little bit more then, but not $1,600. Too expensive, but I still love it. Still, let's say in the house of Louis Vuitton, there is the Essential V ring. I have loved this for years, and I wish I had bought it years ago. Now, there's a lesson in here, okay? The lesson here is assuming you can, and assuming that it's important enough to you, and assuming that all the other essentials have come first and you have met all of those expectations and responsibilities. If there's something that you see then and there and you love it, sit on it for a day or so or a little while, but then you need to get it then and there, because it will go up in price, or it will be discontinued and then it will still go up in price. Ergo, a lot of what's happening with these vintage lines and the resurgence of the newer version, therefore the vintage goes through the roof. So the Essential V wide ring. Now, I like rings that tend to be a little bit more flat, or they're like a band, but you know, I don't mind bling on them, but I don't like rings that have too much of a high setting of stones or whatever. This one here is my 1 carat moissanite. It's only moissanite, but still, you know, and I quite like it because it tends to be flat. Here's my eternity ring, and that's flat. A signet ring, that's flat. So my point is that I love statement rings, and I do love my rings as well as my earrings, but I like them to be sort of more flat or more like a band style. And this Essential V one has got a bit of a raised area where the V is raised over the silver part. But the thing about it that worries me and worried me, because it's no longer available now, unless there's one sitting in a boutique somewhere, is that it's not real gold or real silver. I mean, I get it if they don't use real gold, because that will increase the price significantly. But at the time when I was looking at that ring, it cost $500. I mean, I would want a silver ring, at least actual sterling silver, for that amount of money. Some of them are available now on the pre-loved market, but they're so scratched up that it's not worth paying that, even like, you know, $200 odd. And some of them are going for almost retail back then, the retail of back then, but I won't do that because they're scratched up and all the rest of it. We know that a lot of these designer houses don't have real jewelry, if I can say real, you know, as in the precious metals. Yes, they do have the precious metal lines. Like if you were to buy that ring now from Louis in silver and gold, you're looking at a couple of grand. But at least you're dealing with real silver and real gold. Now, I still wear a lot of non-real metal pieces, don't get me wrong, but for the most part, what is most affordable to me that I can wear all the time or interchange and all that type of thing is silver. So I love that ring to bits, and if I could ever come across one in great condition and the price is right, I would consider it, but back then I thought it was too expensive. The other one is one of the pieces that LV has currently, and that's those little cuffs, and I like me a nice cuff. Fendi also had a beautiful jewel encrusted or crystal encrusted cuff, which I adored. I haven't looked recently because I don't want to be tempted to buy it, but again, too expensive. And for that price, at least a ring, I'm less likely to lose it. Sometimes cuffs can slip off the ear, or if you haven't slipped them on enough and sort of like tried to compress them a little bit to stay snugly on the ear, they can fall off. Sometimes if you're a bit rough, if you're moving a lot, if you're wearing hats, if you do this type of thing all the time, I have been known to lose earrings, or at least the backings. And whilst the cuff doesn't have a backing, they can slip off. So they're two sort of jewelry pieces that I would love and wish that I had bought, or one of them anyway, but too expensive for what they are. But I still love them. And last one from the LV design house is the Petite Malle. I love the Petite Malle so much. ever since it was released many years ago. And I remember going to Chadstone one day with both Kim Curated and Caitlin Pulowski, and this was the time when Caitlin was more into luxury, and we were doing the rounds at Chadstone, and we went into LV one day and we picked it up. It was sitting there on the shelf, and we picked up at the time it was just the monogram one, and we held it. It was the slightly larger one, and we held it, we looked at it, we opened it, and I remember Caitlin asking me, would you buy this? And I said, yes, I still would. I know it carries a little to nothing, but at the same time, I just would want that. That would be my very overpriced additional showcase piece. I do love the epi leather. I'm very partial to the epi leather Petite Malles, but at $10,000 roughly, brand new, I can't do it. It's far too expensive for me, my situation, and what I'm dealing with, you know, like what's on my plate, and everyone's got a different plate with different things on it. To me, it's too much. Now, would I consider buying a pre-loved one? There's that questioning again. Yes, I would. If it's in good condition and if it's significantly lower than the retail price, I would. I do love the monogram one. I don't like the reverse monogram. I've never liked the reverse monogram. It just reminds me of my kids' nappies when they were younger. Anyway, sorry, I just had to say it. But the epis are beautiful. Now, of course, then there are those magnificent pieces in the exotic skins, but well and truly out of my price range, and I could just never approach that. But that's me. So still too expensive, but I really, really, really still do love it. And the last piece, and bear in mind that there are so many other pieces that I could have spoken about, but hey, we're not here for 25 hours, you know. The other one that I love is, in all honesty, given what it is and where it's from, and compared to some of these other pieces that I've listed just now, it's not all that expensive. It's the Hermès Calvi card holder. Ever since they released it, when was it, about 8-9 years ago, I've wanted it. I loved it. I loved the design. And I remember Oraton, which is an Australian leather company, they made one which was very, very similar about 4 or 5 years ago. And I remember buying one as a gift and sending it overseas to my friend Maggie, but in Ireland, but I was never able to acquire one for myself. And I've just never seen one, like an inspired version of it since then. I'm sure there are a lot of, inauthentic ones and so on, but I'm not going to do that. So really, technically, at $700-800, they're not too expensive for a card holder. I feel crazy even just saying that when I think about it. But compared to the other prices that I've already mentioned and so on and shown, it's not all that dramatic. Isn't it funny how we just get used to a new normal? So the Calvi card holder is one that I've always wanted in a beautiful bright color. Any leather, I don't know, I don't care. I don't know much about the Calvi leather, the Hermès leathers, other than what I hear on and off online through watching people's videos. I just want one of those pieces, and it's expensive. I know I could buy one pre-loved, but I don't know if it's maybe the particular type of leather or the fact that it folds open and closed all the time, but they tend to show a fair bit of wear. But I do love it. I don't want the bustier. No interest in the bustier. I don't care about the coins situation. I can just carry another little extra pouch if necessary. But I really do love the Calvi card holder, and not even the duo version, because I know that the duo version would end up getting too chunky, because I do still carry cash. I do still use coins. So to have anyway, long story short, I don't want the duo. I want just the stock standard original one. Oh, goodness me. And the reason I love it is because I also used to love the Louis Vuitton pocket organizer, and I did buy it a few years ago. I bought it some time ago, and I loved it. And I think I bought an epi one at the time, brand new from the boutique, but then I returned it soon after because I actually tried. I put a few cards in there, but then what tends to happen is, if you imagine this is like the seam where it closes, instead of staying nice and flat, which looks beautiful when it's empty, by the time you put cards in it, you've sort of got this open sort of beak effect. And in my bags, it's going to pop open, it's going to stay open, it'll be damaged, cards might fall out. That's the only reason why I didn't buy the pocket organizer, but at least the Calvi's got that press snap thing, so that might help. And that might be the only Hermès piece I'll ever have. Who knows? So they're my pieces that I think that, They're too expensive. I still adore them. I still want to own them one day. And who knows, maybe I will. We don't know. But tell me, what are some of the pieces that you love that are still too expensive, but you can't give up the thought of having? Which pieces live rent-free in your head like they live rent-free in my head? It's not a good business move to do to allow that, is it? But anyway, and if you've come from Winnie's channel, thank you. I do hope you'll consider subscribing, staying around. And if you haven't seen Winnie's video, I will have her linked below. So please head over and check out what she has to share with you. So as always, I look forward to reading your comments. Take care, everybody. God bless, and I'll see you next time.